You are now listening to the District 2 Sports Podcast, available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. It costs you nothing to smash that like button. Leave us a review and follow District 2 Sports on Facebook, X, and Instagram for more content and coverage. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
All right, so this is District 2 Sports Podcast, and we're joined by Alleghany High School head coach Will Fields, who took over the combined Alleghany Covington football programs in 2023. Since then, he has worked to unify two proud programs, built a strong team culture, and led the Cougars to success, including an 11-1 season last year, and is off to another hot start this fall. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Coach, we kind of talked about this offline a little bit, but I want to get into this season off the start. You guys are 6-0, doing really well. It seems like your defense has really improved as the season went on. I think you guys gave up 26, 26, and 21 to start the first three games, but since then, 14, 16, and 11. So has there been an adjustment in there, and what's been success so far for the season?
Well, no, I mean, I'm sure there's been some adjustment. We've had some injuries that and guys are adjusting to some new roles, and also starting to get some of those kids back. So I think but I mean, we played Brookville early, and they've lost some players due to an eligibility thing. I mean, they had two really explosive players. That their father was a pro football player, and they're really explosive kids, and so they were going to score some points and make some plays, and then we played Greenbrier East in West Virginia, who's doing really well. I mean, they're 5-2 on the season, I think, and rated in the top 10 in AAA in West Virginia, and so some good competition early. They were going to make plays and score points, but we have gotten better. Obviously, Stuart's draft was a pretty high scoring team that we were able to hold down a little bit. So, our defensive coordinator, Dale Burdett, does a great job. I tell him every week that, he gives them the answers to the test if they just pay attention, and they have done a pretty good job at that.
Coach, I want to ask you, it seems like every team kind of develops an identity as the season goes on. How would you describe the personality of this year's team?
Well, we're a little more, I would say. I mean, we're kind of having to battle for wins a little more. The last couple of years, we really scored a lot of points and got up on people, and we're having to battle for them. We got a couple 1-point wins, and we're having to really scrap for some of these wins. And there's various reasons why that's true, but. I think it's kind of become the identity of the team. I think we're fighting for everything we get, and we're not as explosive as we were. We've graduated some kids that have gone on to college and things in the last couple of years, and that were really explosive offensive football players. So we've still got a few, but not as many, and so the guys we're getting that we have are like I said, having to battle for it.
Coach, we talked to Des Jordan at the beginning of the year, kind of talked to him a little bit about his whole, career there and his recruitment process, all that good stuff. And I think something about playing DB at the next level, but I thought he could be maybe a quarterback and maybe a level lower ranks. But what have you seen from him as a senior, and what the leadership he brings to the team? And who are some other guys who have to step up, for you guys to make a playoff run?
Yeah, well, I mean, like Dezel, I think he's close to making his college decision. He probably will be a defensive back or maybe a receiver in college. He doesn't have a big arm, I think is part of it. But I think that, not being a very big guy either. I mean, 5'11", 180 pounds. I mean, he's not a big guy. But I think coaches see him play the toughest position in team sports, and really doing it strictly on athleticism and football savvy. And I think that's what interests them, and know that he can make transition to a couple other different positions, corner, safety, or like I said, maybe receiver. And he can do that. There's no question in my mind that he can do that at the next level. He's just a really good football player is what he is. And he plays quarterback for us, but he can do a lot of things. He's joined in the backfield by Carter Nicely, who was an 1,100-yard rusher last year. And Carter battled a little injury in the middle of the season this year that kind of helped him out. And he's playing through it. And, he's getting back to form. We have a returning tight end who's down right now with a knee injury, hoping to get him back real soon. And he was, he scored 8 or 9 touchdowns last year, and we've been missing him. But we got back a guy, Brady May, who had moved out of state and then moved back, and he's playing wing back for us and doing a great job. He filled in for Carter there at running back when Carter was out, and has racked up some yards and touchdowns, and is a really good player. And then a couple wide receivers have come on. Jay Godfrey's a returner, but he's scored a few times for us, and Austin Green's a first-time starter out there at wide receiver, who's I think is approaching 30 catches right now, and doing a really good job in the slot for us.
Coach, talking about the offensive side of the ball with Des again. I mean, high school's a little bit different from college. I mean, as far as like making reads and whatnot. How often do you trust him, at the line of scrimmage, to just kind of read the defense and make adjustments as needed, or are you seeing those things and kind of relaying it to him yourself?
No, he does a lot of what we do is RPO based and reads, and he does all that himself. And the plays are called and the RPOs are built in, but Des does them. And just last week was a prime example. I mean, I can't tell you how many times over the last 3 years that I would say it's at least 10 times that we had a run called and either a bad snap, missed handoff, missed block, turned into a passing touchdown for Des. Our linemen know not to go downfield very far and to stay around it, because if something blows up, he's going to find some grass and find a receiver downfield. And so I know it's at least 10. There's been 3 this year that were called runs that were just blown up, and he found a receiver and who ran deep. So he can do it. He's just a playmaker.
Coach, I know you're a West Virginia native. Is Pat White, is that a okay kind of comp there for Des, or is that a little bit different?
I'm not sure Des is quite as fast as he was even comparably. But the quickness and the playmaking ability, and the fact that he's not a very big guy at all, and the fact that he's really just a heck of a football player is very fair comparison.
When this plays, you kind of break down, like you said, maybe it's a bad stamp. I mean, how often are you telling him, hey, just go make a play?
We don't have to tell him. I mean, we don't, he was, like I said, I inherited him. He played JV at Covington and started as a freshman, and he did a little bit of that. And then when I got him as a sophomore, I mean, you don't have to tell him. He's just a playmaker. He just does it.
We were kind of joking about this before we got on the podcast, but you guys have moved from the Three Rivers there to the Shenandoah. Have you seen any difference at all as far as like the competition, the level of, maybe the level of competition at all, or is it kind of the same for you guys?
Well, no, I think it's pretty similar. It's us coming in with Rockbridge makes 8 teams, or 9 teams. So there's 8 district games. That's tough. I mean, district games, even when you're a little bit better than a team, they're tough. I mean, we struggled with Buffalo Gap, who on paper, we should have beaten them, and pretty handily. But we were their homecoming game, and they were fired up, and they outplayed us in many facets of the game, and we've seen that a few times. We struggled with Stanton, and we made some mistakes, but Stanton played really well, and they played really hard, and they're well coached, and that's very similar to the Three Rivers district. I mean, a lot of good coaches down there, and some good players, and some storied programs, with Radford and Glenver, and we started out with Giles, is not there anymore, but some storied programs that have a lot of pride, and some of these programs do too, and so that's tough. I mean, they're ready to play, and you got to be ready every week.
Coach, go ahead, Devin.
Well, Coach, I wanted to ask, so kind of starting at the beginning of the season, not dwelling on any negatives or anything, but, one thing that's kind of been a hot topic with a few of our other fan bases who tune in is are these preseason games. And when it comes to our rankings, they always say, you know, we beat so-and-so in the preseason, we should be ranked ahead of them. How do you guys, obviously y'all had that benefit game. I can't even remember the opponent off the top of my head, but coming off a loss in that preseason benefit game. And then how do you go about making sure that your team does not not losing focus, not getting discouraged and coming back, and now you're 6-0 all of a sudden?
Well, I mean, our kids have been around, most of them. We have a few young kids, but most of our kids have been around for the last 2 years, and we've won a lot of football games in the last couple of years. So, I mean, I don't really think confidence is an issue, and maybe even overconfidence. I don't know. I mean, we played Union in the benefit game. I usually don't like doing benefit games because, number one, you don't prepare for them. I mean, I don't anyway. I mean, we don't really prepare opponent specific. We're working on fundamentals and the things that we do, and and Union's a great program. It's a consolidation of two historic programs down there in Wise County, and they just whooped us. I mean, they just they whooped us, and we didn't look very good, and we didn't play very well, and I don't know how well they think they played, but they looked pretty good from our sideline, and I think they're a veteran team, and we had played Scrimmage Graham the week before and done a little bit better with them. They faced each other, I think, in the region final and down there in or state semifinal, I guess, in 2A the year before. Both good teams, and but like I said, I mean, I don't think it affected us. I mean, obviously it didn't. We've come out and played pretty well, but there, like I said, I mean, I guess it's good to get good competition early, and that's what I wanted. The benefit game wasn't the form I wanted, but I have all the respect in the world for Coach Taylor and Union. They just whooped us. Coach Turner, excuse me, they just whooped us up there. So we moved on.
Coach, taking it back to last year, I mean, you guys go 10-0 in the regular season. I mean, you tore through the Three Rivers there. I mean, against really good competition too. Glenver with Brody Doyle, we all hear about that, and Radford, who played for state championship as well. I want to get your thoughts on the regular season, that 10-0 start, and then I'm going to ask you another question about your team you're playing this week. You guys played them in the playoffs, won 44-14 over Wilson Memorial.
Well, I mean, you got to be fortunate, to go 10-0. I mean, obviously we were a big school in the Three Rivers district. Us and Carroll were the only AAAs in the district, but we really don't play like a AAA. I mean, Carroll County and Alleghany County schools don't play as large as they are, and we probably, from a participation standpoint, are probably outgained by many AA schools, including the ones in our current district. We have kids that have a 45-minute car ride to school. I mean, city schools and suburban schools don't face that. There's kids that just don't play sports because it would be too time consuming for them, just the travel alone. So this district has the same issue and a few more AAAs, but they're all small triples. So I feel like we're in a competitive situation where, in the Three Rivers we were as well, not as big as schools, but like I said, some really proud athletic traditions in some of those schools down there. And, so the competition was good, and we built from there, I think, I always say, high tide raises all boats. And being in the Three Rivers was a good place for us to, when we consolidated, to kind of get our feet wet and figure out who we are and have to battle each week against some tough teams. So, and that's in all sports, but particularly for us. But going 10-0 is, like I said, you got to be fortunate, got to be a little bit lucky, got to be good. And we have some good players. I mean, we still have some. Dez is a big part of that. Xavier Hazlett, who graduated last year. I mean, he's in high school football, a 6'4", 205-pound kid who can really catch the ball. I mean, he's an automatic completion out there. And, and I know Dez misses him, but, we got some guys stepping up this year. But, that's tough for other teams to deal with, particularly when it's really difficult to get Dez on the ground. And if he's got a guy he can just throw it at, that was tough to deal with. So, and several other really, really good athletes. And a lot of them played on defense as well, just like Dez does. So we've been really good on defense, and I'm fortunate to have good coaches who put them in good positions.
Coach, just kind of curious, when you play against a team last year that you beat pretty handily by 30 points, do you tend to go back and watch that and kind of go back to that same kind of game plan, or do you get to start from scratch and kind of look at what they're doing this year as well, or how do you attack that?
A little bit of both. I mean, you look at it. I mean, I'm sure they're looking at it too. I mean, you look at it and you look at the scout tape you have this year, which is probably more instructive. But because the teams change, high school football, especially like I said at this level, these size schools, you have to adapt year to year to what you have. I mean, they've got a really good football player that's playing quarterback who was kind of a catch-all guy last year, and he was in multiple spots, and he was a little bit of a tell because they moved him around, and then you could sort of figure out what they were getting ready to do. Well, he's a quarterback now every play because of an injury they have. So, he's tougher because he's in the same spot, but he can do all those same things. And so it's tougher. He's going to run it, he's going to throw it, and it's more difficult to know what that's going to be because he's in a consistent spot at each snap. But like I said, we'll look at it. We are looking at it. We're going to use it, but until you get in the game, you don't know what each week. Your opponent, you decide what you are that week, and it'll take us a little while to figure out who they think they are, and they'll be doing the same to us.
Coach, you guys are 11-0 at the point. You lose a tough one at Turner Ashby. For you personally, how long do you reflect on those type of losses? Maybe with it being the playoffs, and then what was the response from your guys in the off season? How were they ready for 2025 to come around?
Well, we had a good off season. I mean, like I said, we had a lot of seniors, and I've had playoff losses in my career that you just like you didn't feel like you should have lost. It's I wish I would have done this, wish I would have done that. I mean, they were better than we were. They just whooped us. I mean, they were as good a team as there is in AAA. I mean, the team that eventually won it was phenomenal and stocked with athletes that they get every year. But William Byrd, TA, some of these teams are there at the end. I mean, they're just really good football teams. I mean, Heritage could have come out of that, Seminole district and been right there with those teams too. I mean, that's like I said, that's tough sledding for a county school, for a small AAA county school. Those are the big boys, and they've always got a lot of athletes and guys going on to college. So, we had our chances, but we just didn't make the most of it. And most of what happened is, they earned it. They were just better than us that night.
Coach, how important is it these days, with the power rankings and what to kind of win or be at the top of that region so you can host more playoff games? And I just want your thoughts. I think you guys are in 3C, which is just a really difficult region. I think 3D is also difficult. I think this whole west side and 3 is just difficult in general. So if you can talk about the play in there in 3A as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, the western side is really good. I mean, there's a lot of good coaches, a lot of storied programs, and we're fortunate to be up in there this year. The power ranking system's not perfect. None of them are. I don't know that we're the best team in Region 3C. We're rated number 1 right now, but like I said, I mean, LCA is unbelievable. Heritage is unbelievable. TA is really good this year. Broadway's undefeated. I mean, you got the guys down in Southwest, Lord Botetourt and Abingdon, that some of these teams are just tremendous. So, I mean, you play the schedule that's in front of you. We're playing the Shenandoah, playing the non-district teams. You play the teams in front of you. You get in the playoffs, you do the best you can do and see how you match up. And that's always been my philosophy going to my previous places where I was head coach. And you just play the schedule that you have, and the playoffs are what they are.
So I have a text message question for you here. This is from Big G, so he couldn't make it tonight. He wanted to know if you feel slighted in any way, shape, or form being tucked away in Covington, or do you prefer being the best kept secret or the hidden gem of the West?
No, I mean, we don't feel slighted. Like I said, I mean, I think people are starting to notice it. I mean, you guys, I mean, are evidence of that. I mean, I think they're starting to notice that our kids can play football and that we've got a pretty good team. It's like I said, I mean, it's just you play the schedule that you're given, and you do the best you can. And there's been some banner years. I'm sure there'll be some leaner years. It's just the nature of the beast at a school this size. I've been through both of them, and it's it's fun. It's fun. Like right now, people are noticing, and that's fun for the kids and for everybody. And the community certainly likes being noticed. And we have a tight knit community, and they're a proud bunch that is proud of our town. And so it's nice to be able to bring some eyes to it.
Yeah, I can definitely tell that's a proud community just from a poll question on social media. But going back even further to 2023, obviously Covington High School and Alleghany both kind of consolidate there. Was a huge rivalry. I remember seeing that on TV a lot. Whatever local station you're watching. Kind of walk through that process a little bit about those two communities coming together to form one school. If there's any challenges or how that went for you. And as I understood, you were the coach at Alleghany, so what was it like going and having kids from Covington who maybe weren't your guys, but becoming your guys, after a certain point?
Yeah, it was pretty seamless. I've said that over the years. It was pretty seamless for the kids. I mean, it was a process that everybody knew was coming. It was about a year and a half, 2 years in the making. After it was, everybody knew it was going to happen. So, it's born out of necessity. I mean, Covington had always been a pretty small school. Well, not always, but for the last, 15 or 20 years had been hovering around 250 students. And Alleghany dropped, precipitously between 2016 and 2019 due to, population loss. There was, a bubble that we saw coming up through the schools that we knew that was there. And I had been at Alleghany back in the 90s, and then I was head coach at Bath County for 14 years, and I came back in 2016 as an assistant. And, so had played Covington, had played Alleghany, had been on the staff at Alleghany before, and, been part of that rivalry a little bit. And it was big. I mean, it was, I remember, both stadiums being packed, 8,000-9,000 people, and that's in a community of, 30,000 probably people that, all those people show up to the game. And, it was a heated rivalry. And, it's something that I think the community misses. And it's been, I think us being able to be successful once we've consolidated has helped that. And, we don't have that rival right now. I don't know that we'll ever have that kind of a blood rivalry with anybody, but, we don't really have that rival. But the success has made people awfully proud of the consolidation.
I immediately think of remember the Titans when those when they integrated the team and whatnot, and just the players being divided. Or did y'all have anything like that where the Covington kids were sticking with Covington kids and the Alleghany kids were sticking with the Alleghany kids?
And I've been asked that question. We really didn't. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, and the adults are way worse than the kids ever were. From the kids played little league sports together. They were on the same teams. They played against each other, in rec sports here, because it's such a small community. They all knew each other. I mean, there was a little bit of, them wearing their Covington shirts and Alleghany wearing Mountaineer shirts and stuff like that. But we didn't have any big divisions, and particularly on the football team. I mean, we took right off. I mean, we were there. I mean, and I think anybody who's played sports knows that. I mean, you can dislike somebody, or, maybe think you dislike them, but once you get on a team together and you're battling against somebody else for a win, if you're a competitive person, that guy's your teammate now. And it doesn't take much for that to kind of take over. So, it really was seamless. A lot of people don't believe it, but it was a seamless consolidation. And if it were not for a few, stubborn adults in the community, I don't know that we'd even be talking about it.
Coach, I think your quote at that first practice is I think you said something like, "If you didn't know, you wouldn't have known." Just how quickly those kids meshed together from Covington and Alleghany. So it seems like they really embraced each other, and it seems like the community's come together, like you said, with your success as well. Going 11-1 last year and 6-0 this year. So there's Big G. Big G's here now too. So it looks like you guys have the same barber as well.
Hey, Coach. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious if, being tucked away around there, if you feel like you just don't get the I don't know, not necessarily respect, but even the look. I mean, do people come peering around looking for Alleghany?
Well, I mean, we're kind of used to a situation. It's not. I don't. I think when any team's good, you get the eyes, and that just kind of goes with it. But we kind of are. We kind of are used to being. Geographically, we're kind of a redheaded stepchild. I mean, we're the only AAA school that's up here in this area. I mean, we don't really fit anywhere. I mean, years ago we were in a Blue Ridge district, and they hated coming up here. I mean, you would think, we were in outer Mongolia. We drive to Roanoke, 4 or 5 times, 8 times a season. But at one trip up here, there's charter buses, and they're calling for logistics and stuff like that, and then we're in the Three Rivers, and we're driving down there, and there'd be JV games. All of a sudden, it was they couldn't get a bus for the JV game, to come up here, and and the Shenandoah has been really welcoming to us. I mean, they're all 20-25 minutes away, and then they added Rockbridge, which is another 10 maybe, but we're still we're another 35 minutes after that. So but they've been really welcoming to us in our geographic location, and we're proud to be in with them. We do fit there, I think, from a demographic standpoint and the size of the school, and we're hoping we can build some really quality relationships and maybe a couple rivalries. That always happens.
Well, I can also see that as an advantage, and as one of my little boys here, down in the lower left right hand corner down there, he always says sometimes them trips takes jelly legs out of everybody. So I mean, I can also see that as an advantage for you guys.
Oh, it's an advantage. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I coached at Bath County for 14 years, and it's that's out of the way. We're out of the way. That's out of the way. And it is an advantage. It's an advantage. It's a trip. This time of year, it's a little colder here than it is in a couple other places. It's always a little windier here than it is in a lot of other places, and it's an advantage for sure.
Yeah, I'm ready for the snow on Friday when I go up there. So we'll see what happens. No, but kind of joking. But we talked to another coach on the podcast just last week. They're at Patrick Henry. They're 5A school, kind of surrounded by 3 and 4A teams. So it's kind of we talked about how hard it is to kind of prepare for what they're going to face in the playoffs. So is the only thing you can do really is just kind of working your craft throughout the season, but also kind of maybe kind of schedule those 3, 4A teams in the non-district in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean that's what we tried to do. I mean, like I said, we only have 2 dates that we can play with, and Greenbrier East is kind of a little bit of a rivalry game for us, being across the border there from us in West Virginia. So that's on the schedule. And then we went with Brookville, over in the Seminole, which is a regional opponent, and someone out of the Seminole, and they're a little closer to our size, and I think that's a good game for us. It's I thought it was a measuring stick. I know they're kind of on a slide, but like I said, they've lost a couple of really explosive football players to an issue, and I think if they were there, it'd be a little bit different story. But we're trying to do that, being in the Shenandoah, which is in the region. Last year last 2 years we're the only team in Region 3 that wasn't in either the Shenandoah Valley or the Seminole districts, and we were down there in the Three Rivers, so we were kind of not a part of it. So now we're in one of the key one of the districts that's all into Region 3C. So we're getting to see apples to apples each week, and we get a little bit more. We get to see we've seen TA on film because Wilson played them, and we've seen a little bit of Broadway and some of these other schools. So it's good to be, like I said, all kind of more ingrained into the region than we have been.
Coach, they'll think I'm taking over the interview because I showed up. But listen, I'm speaking out of pure ignorance here. But it's also a question going to be involved here. I mean, I haven't looked at your conference or your district, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I know what VHSL was trying to do when they started putting these districts together and cutting down on travel and stuff like that. But how much do you agree with, or how much do you think it helps or hinders when it comes to playoff, when you're playing? I mean, say a 4A school is sitting in a district with a couple of 2As, a couple of 3As. I mean, how much does that help or hinder a team when it comes to playoff time?
I mean, I think it does hurt you, you know, and I'll be the first one to say, you know, put the ratings points out to each region now. The VHSO used to do it. Now they've given it to the regions, and most of the regions, as far as I know, are using the same system just because it was there and it was in place. And you know, it used to be that you paid a penalty for playing down, you know, but and then they came in and they said, well, these teams can't help it. They have to be in this district with these teams, you know. And I mean, we play two single A teams, albeit they're two pretty good single A teams, you know, in our district this year. I mean, and there used to be that penalty. Well, then they started giving you the bonus point. So you get bonus point for playing up, you get a bonus point for playing down to sort of equalize it. I'll be the first to say that's not, I don't think we benefit from it, but that's not the best way to do it. You know, I mean, I don't know that we should be rated higher than these top tier AAA teams out of the Seminole district. We are right now because that's the way the points work, but I don't know that that's the most equitable way to do it. I mean, I think personally there should be a penalty for playing down, whether you're forced to do it or not. You know, I mean, but I've always been a person who felt like, you know, the cream rises to the top in the playoffs. I know the goal was always to get the best two in the finals, and you know, and you don't want them playing in the semifinals or even worse than that in a round earlier than that. You don't want that, but sometimes it's unavoidable, and you know, everybody knows that's the game. And you know, I think that's a much more desirable outcome than, you know, you're getting it anyway. I mean, you might get it anyway. So, you know, I don't think it's the best way that we're doing it. And even though I benefit from it and we benefit from it, you know, I'd be the first to say, you know, no. I mean, back in the day, we used to take 16 from each half, and you know, we made the playoffs a couple of years at Bath County when I was coaching there. That we had no business making the playoffs. We didn't have enough wins, you know, and you know, and I'm saying that from a guy who got in as a 15 seed and upset a 2 seed. You know, we still shouldn't have been there that year. You know, we weren't a playoff football team. So, you know, I'm a cream rises to the top guy.
Coach, talking. Oh, go ahead, Big G.
No, what I was going to say was I wanted y'all to make sure y'all understood. He did say that single A teams are good. I wanted y'all to make sure y'all understood what he said there. Okay. And then second of all, Coach, I have to preach them. You know, they get on me because I kind of deep down inside, being close to Alta Vista, them being a 1A team, I just feel like, you know, whatever you think about the coach, whatever you think about the program, that's fine. But, you know, I think they're doing things right because he's playing teams in 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know. He might even be playing a 5A team this year. So I think he basically told us, I don't care about the regular season. I'm getting my team ready for the playoffs. So, but the other thing I was going to tell you, you know, as complicated as it is for you coaches, I had to sit here and give a dissertation the other night because a buddy of mine calls me up from our class reunion. He goes, "Is it true that GW High School plays up in the playoffs?" And I go, "No." And they just didn't understand how the district was set up with, you know, them playing 3A teams. And then all of a sudden they're playing all 4A and you know, in the playoffs. So they just didn't understand that. So, you know, I can understand the complications, but, you know, I guess we have to give the VHSL their due diligence as far as travel time or travel and cutting down on travel, I guess you want to say. Much as I hate to do that, sorry.
And there's no real good way to do it. I mean, there's no AAAs west of Abingdon. I mean, you can drive nearly 2 hours west of Abingdon. There's no AAA schools out there. I mean, you know, they're clustered. Single A schools are out there. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, you know, there's anomalies everywhere. I mean, let me tell you something. I mean, you guys know 2 years ago, I don't care what classification, nobody wanted to play Riverheads. You know, I mean, Lord Botetourt, you know, put them on the schedule and you know, took a whooping from team two classes down, and you know, and we've got them next week. I mean, you know, I don't, you know, that's a 10-time state champion. I don't care what division they're in; those kids know how to win, and that's a factor. And so, you know, I mean, it's just what it is. GW Danville, they're only 4A down there. I mean, Franklin County, you know, is stuck down in there and has to go everywhere for the playoffs. And, you know, I mean, most schools down that way, most counties and school division have decided to keep their schools apart and not make these big consolidations. So, you know, some of those schools, like I said, like, you know, in other ways, not geographically, but they're redheaded stepchild, just like we are up here in the mountains. I mean, they're just different down there, and they got to do what they got to do. And then when you get into playoffs, you know, you see who you are. advantages and disadvantages, but you just play it. But like I said, I was at Bath County for 14 years. I have the utmost respect for single A football, and those communities. Let me tell you something. Those communities love football, love their football teams as much or more than any community around.
Well,
And I was in one of them. So
no, I was just going to tell you, and I'm sure this has already come up tonight, but you've got to be ecstatic with the following that you have there. And, I guess Gregory's already told you that, they put this poll out for the game on Friday night, and nearly 700 votes come in just from your group alone. And I'm like, God, I didn't even know we had 700 people that even, paid attention to us. So, I mean, I got to thank you and your community for everything that, that they're doing for us, especially. But I mean, you just got to be ecstatic with your following.
Well, we are, and I mean, like I said, it's and like many communities, I mean, they really are proud. They're starting. More of them are starting to come over to about the consolidation. They built us a new field house down at the stadium behind the old Covington High School this last year, and it's really nice. And the stadium's a nice little small town stadium, and they do fireworks before the game and during the game, and they come out. I mean, our side will be packed, and and they're proud of the town, and they want people to come here and see what we have, and it's not a big town, but they're very proud of it, and they're always happy if they can get some folks to come in from outside and see what we're about. They really are a very proud bunch.
Gregory and Devin, please don't go there and get caught up watching fireworks and forget what you're there for. Okay, please.
It can happen.
That's awesome, Coach. Talking more about your opponent on Friday. I was kind of looking at their schedule. They're 5-1. I think in 4 of the 5 wins, they shut out their opponents. Much as you can tell us, what have you seen where you think you guys can maybe exploit that?
Well, I mean, like I said, we don't know. I mean, we know what they were at the end of last year, and we know what we've seen from the last couple of weeks of film that we have from this year. And, they seem pretty similar. They don't do anything fancy on defense. They're very sound. They're not gonna try and trick you. They're gonna line up where you think they're gonna line up. And I'm a big proponent of that. I mean, sometimes you have to kind of do some things, but as a head coach, I've always been about being sound. I started on the defensive side of the ball, and I don't call plays or call defenses for us anymore. I have a lot younger, smarter guys doing that now, but I've always been about making sure your kids know what their responsibility is on defense, and I think that's what they do. They line up where you think they're going to line up. Their kids know if there's a mistake, they know who made it, and that's the first step in knowing how to correct it on the fly without calling a timeout or getting to halftime. If somebody, runs the wheel up the sideline, that kid knows he missed it because he knows his defense. And that's the kind of defense they are. They're just, they're exactly what they look like. And they just line up and they run to the football and they play, and you might trick them because they are so consistent. You trick them every once in a while, but that's not what wins you football games. You gotta beat them, and they don't let you do that very easily.
Coach, last one from me. I asked the community this already, but I want to hear your answer to this one. Where's the best place to get a bite to eat before the game starts?
Well, there's a few. Everybody's probably telling you Coochie's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you like Italian food, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's definitely pretty good. There's Michael's is another place downtown. That's there's one in Clifton and one in Covington. You eat both. That's pretty good down here. Jack Mason's Tavern in Clifton Forge is a popular little spot there, and there's several. I think if you get into town and there's a place and you can't find an easy place to park, that's probably the place you want to go.
Coach, I just I play with these guys a lot because I miss them. We live separate and all that kind of stuff, and they're out of the house thank goodness. But anyway, never mind that. But just to let you know that these are two of the hardest working kids that I know of, because on a daily basis they're working on a recruiting board, for high school kids. So if there's anything we can do for you guys, I mean, I'm not telling you we have every connection. I'm sure you've got many more than we do, but we're presenting kids to the ODAC, to the SAC, to anybody that we can get in front of so that we can promote it. Because that's one of the things, and I harp on this so much, that our mission for this podcast alone was to help kids get a further their education, but also be able to try to play on whatever the next level is, whether it's D1, D2, or D3, or junior college, whatever. We're trying to help them move along and better their lives. So but anything we can do for you guys, please let us know. We'll help you out in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I appreciate you guys. I really do. I know, Des, you guys got on him early, and he's talked to me about you guys, and I've seen some of the stuff on social media like that. And I appreciate it. That's what kids need. And, I'm sure as we get through, we don't have very many that go on to college to play football. We just don't have those kind of players usually, but we have a few, and I certainly appreciate guys who do what you do. And I appreciate the opportunity you've given me here tonight to talk about our team and our community a little bit.
Coach, actually, one more. I'm surprised Big G didn't say this, so I was going to ask you one more question. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek question. I wonder how much do you pay attention to polls, whether it's from the local stations or from the District 2 Sports Podcast, and you take that as any slight to you guys?
No, I don't. I don't. I mean, I'm a realist. I know. I mean, like I said, the PowerPoints are what they are, and but opinion polls, and polls that are done by sports writers, many of them are very good. A lot of you guys that follow high school sports, I mean, like I said, who's who. I mean, you know that the PowerPoints are not always the true story. I mean, I'll be the first to, like I said, I first say we're number one in Region 3C right now. Okay. Are we the best team in Region 3C? Many people would probably say no, and I don't get caught up in it. That's what the playoffs are for. We'll get a chance to prove it or not prove it. And that's all we can do. But I think most of you guys that pay attention to it, I appreciate you, because high school sports is important to me. And I appreciate you guys that shine a spotlight on it. And, part of America is who's number one and arguing about who isn't. So, if you guys are putting it out there, God bless you. I hope you're right more than you're wrong.
Well, hey, I just want to let you know, I've been fighting for you guys for number one all year, and these two guys just won't let me get you there. I don't know what the problem is. I have no idea. I'll keep fighting, Coach. Don't worry about that.
Well, I have no problem proving it as long as we're given the opportunity.
Well, he took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say that at the end of the podcast, but what is what is. But Coach Fields, we appreciate it. I mean, you got some homework to do, watching some Wilson Memorial highlights there, and we appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you on Friday.
We'll be here. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Coach. We appreciate it.
All right.
Coach. Thanks, Coach.